Elsewhere, a very good, interesting film, if you ask me. Um, very good cast and excellent acting. But Bruno, the hero, is a complex character, and the artist that portrays him does a splendid job. He has lost his wife, and therefore he's depressed, he's unable to cope with this trauma. Indeed, in psychological terms, there is a phenomenon called hedonic adaptation, which means that we adapt to almost everything. Very, very quickly, we adapt to material things. We buy a car, we buy things, and pretty soon we don't notice them anymore. What we don't adapt to, or we do with very, very slowly, sometimes we don't, which is, or seems to be the case for Bruno, is the loss of a loved one. Unemployment, these are major traumas that we have a hard time with, obviously. So even if time has passed, I think we're 2 years from the death of his spouse, Bruno is still not floating, let's say, yet. But he's sinking in his nightmares and depression. Furthermore, there is another, as if it wasn't enough for his drifting as a consequence of this big loss. The family of his in-laws deprive him of his home. The home he built, he's an architect, by the way. He built with his wife, is taken and sold by his father and mother-in-law. There is a scene which is both dramatic, maybe melodramatic, and amusing to some extent when he's confronting them at their big house, the rich people. So it wasn't as if, well, we need this house, we need to sell it because we're poor and hungry. No, on the contrary, they're live in something like opulence. Well, they're not. I don't know, Jeff Bezos and separated wife. But still, angry that he's not just wrong, but insulted. You're a loser, you're a disaster, you've been nothing. Not these words, it's not a quote, but words to this effect and so on. So insulted like that. On the way out, Bruno takes a golden horse, supposedly bought from and shipped from Mongolia. And this will be a sort of a of a thing in some scenes to come. But let's not insist on that too much, even if it is something of an important element, and it provides some further scenes and some also amusement, I would say, along the way. Mary comes to town, an interesting woman, a botanist, and somehow Bruno manages to convince her that she has to use his services as a contractor to work on the house, because he has invested so much work, but more importantly, emotions and memories in that house. So he doesn't want to part with it, and he doesn't want somebody else to just transform it and bury, if you will, his past life and present life, because he lives in the past actually, for the time being at least, in reparations, whatnot. So an interesting relationship develops there. Maybe love. Alas, compromised by the fact that he's not telling her. He's saying he's a contractor. He's working at the house, but he doesn't say anything. They get close, intimate, coitus, in fact, takes place. But he doesn't say anything. And worse, he finds the will. There was a problem, because he was entitled morally, if not legally, from the beginning. Now he finds the will. And so the house is proved to be his. And the sheriff and some other official come to a party that Mary is giving and where Bruno is present to tell her she has to evacuate in a certain time frame, 2 weeks. And she discovers that it's him that owns the house and evicts her, if you will, through official channels. And it's tense, it's intense too. It's I'm telling you, if you ask me, a very good, interesting movie. And things happen before and after that, and it's interesting to see how and if they cope with this. And to finish, I don't know, there's also an interesting note on moss. I didn't know moss has been here for forever, hundreds of millions of years. It's it's only this big, modest plant, present everywhere, found a way to adapt without imposing, there's so many lessons we have to learn from moss, the heroine says, and we have to get the point. She wrote a book on moss, and maybe she's writing another book, I'm sure, but I forgot the subject. Is it still moss part 2? But really interesting, fascinating, actually. How it's not dominant. You can be there without being Zen, the Zen philosophy of moss.